Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with my fabulous cohort, colleague, and friend, Jane Matnair of Matnair On Air. We are live from the Crosscut Park in Richland Center, Wisconsin, the beautiful Driftless, here at the Veterans Memorial Pavilion. Jane, thank you so much. Outstanding couple of hours here on your show, Matnair On Air. Thanks for sticking around for this one.
Absolutely. I am delighted to be here. It's been great meeting people who have been coming out. This is a perfect day.
Yeah.
It really is a perfect day. So we're here till 2 o'clock.
And people have been fabulous. We started yesterday at the old world headquarters down in Madison, where Mr. Zommers is, down in Madison, our fine producer. And one of our great listeners, Gary Tipler, look what he dropped off for us.
This is only one. Gary brought us 3 scones that are about as big as a baseball.
Right.
They're so delicious, and they're from Lazy Jane's in Madison.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I had someone had texted in, "You need scones from Lazy Jane's. Go to Lazy Jane's." And then Gary brought them yesterday. So thank you so much, Gary. That's so lovely of you.
It really, really is. And thanks to Jane, I'm no longer using plastic water bottles. I have my reusable Yeti right here in my hot little hand, so I'm very excited about that. Thank you, Jane.
Yeti, by the way, Matnair on Air is available for sponsorships if you're ever interested.
Right.
Just throwing it out
Just
there.
throwing it out there.
Take it for what it's worth.
And also we have our hot little hands thanks to Wonder State Coffee Roasters in Viroqua, Wisconsin, just up the street. One of the only, I think, 5 solar roasteries in the world.
I didn't realize they were solar.
Right, yeah, right up the road in
Very
Viroqua. So we
cool.
have Wonder State Coffee. If you're in the area, come on down to Crosscut Park. It's right behind the community center here. We have Wonder State Coffee on, and it's a good time had by all. We are joined, as we are every Wednesday, from beautiful Lake Wissota, the host of Up North News Radio from 6 until 8 a.m., Mr. Pat Kreitlow, and from an undisclosed location in Central America, and I'm not making that up, he is a man about the world, Mr. Trygve Olsen, Senior Advisor to the Lincoln Project, and joining us right here in Crosscut Park in Richland Center, my former boss, former Senate Majority Leader, Republican Dale Walter Schultz, who is celebrating a birthday today. Dale, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for taking time to come
Finally,
down.
officially old enough to know better.
Well, you and Pat served in the legislature together. You were a Republican, Pat a Democrat, but you guys found ways to get things done.
Yeah, we did. And you know what? Once in a while we had fun. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Amen.
I'm still looking forward to getting a ride on that pontoon boat that you're so generously offering for this Connie giveaway.
Yes, the text to win. Kreitlow has his own pontoon boat, and we've been without him even giving me permission. I've kind of volunteering that he may, a keyword may, be willing to be the captain on the pontoon boat included in our grand prize, one of 3 at Fort Atkinson, a cottage on the lake with a pontoon boat.
Just remember,
I'm
Pat,
here.
all publicity is good publicity.
Exactly. Have pontoon, will sail. Absolutely. Bring it on.
Pat,
Oh,
we've
Captain,
talked about
my captain.
Pat, we've talked about this before, but I mean, there were different times when you and Dale were in the legislature, as we've talked. You guys would, not you and Dale necessarily, but Republicans and Democrats would kind of go after each other on the floor. And then, a lot of times you'd walk 5 blocks down the avenue and you'd buy each other a drink and say, "You SOB, you really got me. Now what can we get done?" And that's the way things actually worked. I mean, will we ever get back to that, Pat?
Well, I'm certainly hopeful that we can. I mean, right now, part of the reason we can't, well, there are many reasons, but as the amount of money has gotten extremely large in politics, and so people will do whatever they can to protect their investment, and that often means going to the extremes and not appearing to compromise with one another. So any compromise has to happen organically. It's not going to come from leadership necessarily. It's going to come from rank and file members that say, hey, why don't we get something done? In fact, right now, I'm working on a story for Up North News comparing the paid family leave records and promises of Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And in reading up on it, I'm discovering there is a paid family leave caucus in Congress. It's very small. They've set their sights very low, but at least it's a couple of rank and file. It started with a couple of moms talking in the hallway, and maybe they can come up with something. That's the kind of thing we need to continue encouraging.
Dale is still a Republican, although he's not a Trumper. Trigby, you and I are former Republicans. Trigby, I want to bring this up. I want to go around the table and get everybody's opinion quick on this. Yesterday on the Fox News, on Neil Cavuto, you had former Wisconsin Congressman, former Speaker of the House, Republican Paul Ryan, saying that he no longer believes that Trump is even qualified to be president of the United States again, and not because of policy. He said it's because of character. Trigby, is this going to have a ripple nationally?
I don't know nationally how much of a ripple it will have. I think it's good that Paul is finally speaking out and speaking the truth to power, which is essential. I think it matters in terms of those blocks of Red Dawn conservatives and Dobbs dads who are conservatives and Republicans who are open to voting out democracy. I think it's the kind of thing that can be part of framing the message. And I think so in that context, I do think it's important, particularly in Wisconsin.
Dale, you're still a Republican. You're not a Trumper. I guess we've talked about this before, but let's just get on the record. Why don't you just, you're not a Trump guy. Why do you stay and call yourself a Republican? Why do you stay in the party? And what does it mean to you to have Paul Ryan say what he said yesterday about Trump?
Well, let me start from the back end of that. That's leadership. That's what I call it. Paul Ryan stood up and said what had to be said. We need more leaders who are in the public spotlight, standing up and telling the truth like he did. And I think that's important, and we shouldn't underestimate that. And it could become contagious. Look, I was never a fan of Donald Trump. I did tell people I'd give him a chance. It didn't take very long for me to be absolutely soured on the man. And no, I don't think he ought to be our next president. And these days, I find myself very much missing and wanting to go back to a party that was identified as originating with Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt and Ike Eisenhower and Ronald Reagan and Tommy Thompson. And at the same time, I'm not willing to buy a brand without some substance. And what I see now is not substance. And I've told people I'm still consider myself a Republican, but I do not vote a straight ticket anymore. You have to prove to me you represent me and the people in my community. And I'm sad to say recently we've had some real shortcomings in that regard.
Pat Kreitlow, you, of course, were in the legislature, a Democrat, involved in Democratic politics a long time. Do you think that Democrats are willing to accept people like Paul Ryan in a coalition to defeat Trump and Trumpism?
Well, I think they're certainly open to the idea of a coalition to the extent that it sounds credible and isn't seen as a Trojan horse that would merely, weaken Biden. There are plenty of people looking at, Robert Kennedy Jr. and other campaigns, not so much as genuine support for a third party, but as a way to say, well, we know that a lot of people who voted for Trump aren't going to this time. How do we make sure they don't vote for Biden? And so they encourage, these kinds of third parties and talk of a coalition, and it so frequently goes nowhere. So, it would really have to prove its credibility. I think you're less likely to see something like that in a presidential race, which is still binary. It's going to be binary for some time to come, as you would in Congress. In Congress, you sometimes hear about the gang of 6 or a gang of 14 or whatever, where enough people, again, usually rank and file, say, if we stick together with something, the majority has to follow us, and enough of the minority does too. That takes leadership. That takes bravery. And when you've got a party right now calling for the expulsion of members like Paul Ryan and Liz Cheney and others, you don't really have an environment that's friendly to any of this right now. The only way to defeat this is to defeat it at the polls and get some, get some real Republicans back in there and not whatever brand this is right now under the MAGA umbrella.
Jay Mattner, you've been an institution of broadcasting in Wisconsin for years. We're so honored to have you here at a part of Civic, of course, and having your own show every morning, 10 to noon. You're a fantastic lead-in. You know, particularly southeast Wisconsin better than anybody else. And driving out here yesterday, we talked about the fact there are so many things we have in common.
Absolutely. There's so many things that we all agree on and love about this state, and I think we love about each other. Everybody wants their kids to be well taken care of. Everybody wants a decent place to live. Everybody wants their kids to go to a decent school. We all would like to drink clean water and know that it's not contaminated with cancer-causing chemicals. Yeah. These aren't hard things. But the one thing I will say, to be the outlier here, the whole Paul Ryan thing makes me cranky.
Okay.
It just makes me cranky because Donald Trump's character has not changed.
Right.
Donald Trump is the same person he was when he came down that escalator in 2015. You don't understand how anyone could think he is a good role model for your children to emulate. And so, yes, I appreciate Paul Ryan coming out and saying that at this point, it's a little late. You could have done this sooner. And I also think that Paul Ryan is in a very fortunate position. He is working for Fox. He's on the board of Faux News. I'm sure he's pulling in a pretty good buck. And I'm sure he saved some money over the years. So he's in a position now where he can come out and say that with pretty few ramifications.
Pat Kreitler, we're going to be up in Eau Claire yesterday. Pat's going to join us at Shift Coffee and Cyclery in downtown Eau Claire. Stop on out. The first cup of black coffee is on us.
You mean tomorrow, right?
He does mean tomorrow. He messed up the days. Aaron, the reason he did that is he skipped something. Aaron, I know that Geico Camel is nearby. I don't know how he missed telling people that it was
Hump Day.
There, now he's back on track. Tomorrow will be in Eau Claire.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The coffee's on us at Shift Coffee. Kreitler will be there, Jane, and a host of characters as well. About a minute and a half left, Pat. We're going to come back with Trigby and Dale and Jane on the other side. But final word, your final thoughts on kind of the environment that we move into as we move through Wisconsin this week in 2024.
Well, look, we had the state Democratic Convention here last weekend. The chair of the Democratic National Committee, again, reminding Wisconsin voters just how important they are to not waste your vote. And he doesn't mean just not vote for any Republicans, but to think in each case, in each race, who are you voting for? And do they actually stand for you? And realize that your vote has a legacy that goes long beyond you, like who sits on the Supreme Court for a lifetime and things like that. As long as people take seriously the power of their vote in Wisconsin, we may be on the track to better times.
Pat Kreitler, every morning, Up North News, 6 to 8. We appreciate it, my friend. We'll see you in Eau Claire tomorrow. See you then. Come on back. We have Trigby Olson, also Dale Schultz, and Jane Mattner. Talk a little Southwest Wisconsin politics. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show from Richland Center.
How does he do it?
I buy right.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you on your whip. Maybe see you tonight. Maybe see you tomorrow morning.
We'll be in touch. I think what you and I were talking about earlier, Jay and I were thinking tomorrow for that, but we maybe have a drink or something later tonight. So we'll see.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you later.
We'll be in touch.
Take care,
See you,
Pat.
Dale.
Bye.
See you. Bye now.
See you, Pat.
Adios.
Pat.
Greg in Waukesha comments, wait, there's free coffee yesterday. No, you were saying the right thing. You're just trying to get out of paying for people's coffee.
Also, Aaron, FYI, I don't want to get into it, but I'm using my phone right now for the hotspot, so I can't see anything that you text me or anything. So anything, you got to put it in the chat in here. So that's the only way I can communicate. Just
Thanks
so you
for
know.
the heads
Thank
up.
you. Yep.
Where are you? That's a beautiful backdrop.
Thank you. We're in the Crosscup Park in Richland Center, so just
All right,
across
about
the
10
river from the campus.
She ain't a Cadillac and she ain't a Rose, but there ain't nothing wrong with the radio.
Welcome back on location, live from Crosscup Park in Richland Center, Wisconsin, the old hometown. We are here, Civic Media's Todd Allbaugh Show with Jane Mattner, host of the Mattner on Air every morning from 10 until noon. She precedes us at the table here on location, former Senate Majority Leader and my former boss, Republican Dale Schultz. And joining us from an undisclosed but safe location in beautiful Central America, our very own Trigby Olson. What? Not that safe? Okay. It looks. We have palm trees. It
I
looks
mean,
very
safe
pleasant.
where I am right now.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to have one of those viral moments where I get off on you.
Well, no, we don't. We
Although it
don't
might
want.
be good for ratings for you and Jane. That's something to talk about for a while.
Would you be? Let's talk about that. No, I'm kidding.
It's getting kind of dark.
Trigby Olson, of course, a former Republican like myself, and now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. Guys, before we move on here, I just want to kind of pick up on what Jayden said before the break, because I think it's really important, and I think it's a good discussion to have with the people we have right now on the show. Jane Brinkman, and of course Paul Ryan went on Fox yesterday, and yes, he's still a member of the Fox Board of Directors, and said that he no longer believes that Donald Trump is qualified to be president because of his character, and saying that he's certainly not going to vote for Trump. He'd already said he's not going to be at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee next month, but it's been my belief that we all, meaning it doesn't matter who you vote for, where you're from, that we have to have this coalition to defeat Trumpism. But I think Jane hit on something that's very, very real, and we need to talk about it. And that is, there are a lot of people who are like, gee, thanks, but what took you so long? Is this true or not? And are you serious about this, Dale?
Well, I think when you're in power, it's incumbent on you to be the big person and to let bygones be bygones and work towards a positive future together. If we spend all of our time recounting the sins that we have all committed, we're never going to build a real tight bond. And I think Democrats have to find ways to include Republicans in meaningful, substantive ways. And I think Republicans have to put it on the line like Paul Ryan did and stand up and say what needs to be said. I think you shouldn't underestimate the cost to Paul Ryan for doing that. I admire the fact that he did do it. I myself have sinned. I know that I could have done more in the past, and I think about that often. But I think what's important is that we have our eyes on the prize in the future, and we work together to get there. And that's what we're trying to do here in Richland Center.
Trigby Olson, you worked for the late, great John McCain, certainly a conservative, a presidential nominee, an iconic U.S. senator, could be had a temper, you know that better than anybody else, but he also found ways to work with Joe Biden and other Democrats when he could. I don't want you to speak for the late senator, but what do you think, having known Senator McCain, what do you think that he and people like him would think of Paul Ryan's announcement?
Well, I mean, I think McCain would be happy that Paul is speaking out. I think, like lots of people, and I think Jane was kind of getting to this. There's a disappointment that, and I feel this having known Paul for a long time, right? Like, am I disappointed that he didn't join the cause earlier? Sure. But the reality is, and when I worked for McCain, I wrote something called the 7 Rules for Dealing with Autocrats for people around the world who are dealing with autocrats like Putin or Lukashenko or Chavez. If you believe that Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy, rule number 4 of the, as I believe he is, rule number 4 is the Stalin rule. If you believe someone is an existential threat to democracy, as Adolf Hitler was, you make an alliance with Joseph Stalin, knowing that he was probably the second worst human being to ever walk the planet. And you forgive the bygones, and you fight until you get rid of Hitler, and then you can fight it out on the other things. And so the reality is, for Democrats in this moment, and even for people like myself, we can be frustrated that Paul didn't do more earlier and that Paul didn't speak out and whatnot. But the reality is he is our ally in this moment. And the game that Donald Trump is playing is a zero-sum game. It's not the win-win of democracy that we know. It's one where either he wins and democracy is gone, or he loses. And we take any allies that we can get in that fight. Because in these kinds of fights, that's what you have to do. And then we can get back to having, fights, and Democrats can have fights with Paul Ryan about whether Ayn Rand economics works better than big government economics. And quite frankly, Jane, I hope that we can get back to having that fight, you and I, at some point.
Absolutely. Okay, here's what I'll do, guys. I will give Paul Ryan a hug, but it's not going to be a full, really bear huggy hug, okay? I'll give him a little squeeze and then we'll go on.
Well, that didn't hurt too much, did it?
Oh, no, it was fine.
I want to see you give Dale a hug right now. That's easier. You can start.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Bipartisanship is broken out. Here's a quick story. Thank you, Aaron. So here's a quick story. We were down in Platteville, and Dale was speaking somewhere down in Platteville. This is when he was like Senate Majority Leader, and he was going around. And he just went and said hello and shook people's hand. And he went down to shake this woman's hand, an older woman, and she pulled her hand away and she said, "I wouldn't shake your hand. I'm a Democrat." And Dale smiled and said, "I'm sure you're taking something for it." And he moved on. I mean, it was hilarious. And everybody there laughed.
I'm sure.
It was just
She laughed.
She
She laughed too.
Instead of picking fights, it was just like let's just be human.
But to Trigby's larger point, and you're absolutely right, Trigby, in this fight, we do need to have allies. We absolutely do. And then, like you said, then we can go fight about the finer points once this threat is passed.
But
Great.
And here's
the
what I keep wondering about. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dale.
I was going to say, for everyone who's involved in the Lincoln Project, they didn't sit around and negotiate with people before they took action. They stood up and said and did what needed to be done. That's leadership. And we need more people doing that. And I'm sure that they had more than enough people saying, well, they could have done more sooner and yada, yada, yada. Yeah. The main thing is, as Trigby said, we're all in the fight together. We all love this country. We all love democracy, and let's get it done.
Trigby, about a minute and a half left before the break. Give you the final word here on this subject. I guess people in Wisconsin. I think there are still Republicans in Wisconsin that admire Paul Ryan, and I think in some Republican circles, maybe it's only 4%. But in this race, do those 4% that still like Paul Ryan, if they don't vote for Trump, does that make a difference in this race in Wisconsin?
Well, first of all, I mean, I would take issue with you on how much he's liked. He's actually one of the three. I have quantitative data on this. He's one of the three most popular Republicans in the state of Wisconsin. Wow. Tommy Thompson, hands down, is the most popular. There's a lot of not liked Republicans. Not that any of them are exactly loved, but or any politicians for that matter. But no, Paul Ryan has cachet in Wisconsin. I think what I keep coming back to with Paul is, if you go back to his original statement where he said those things, which he has now doubled down on, he said them in relation to Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. And, part of the game of fighting autocrats, and this was true when we were talking about the Lincoln Project, one of the first calls I was on about starting something, we were all like, what if no one stands up with us? And millions of people stood up with us, and that's the greatest part of what we were doing. I think it's about Liz Cheney. I think Paul feels guilty.
Stand by. We have Trigby Olson joining us live from an undisclosed location in Central America. We have Dale Schultz and Jane Matnair joining us from a disclosed location, Crosscut Park in Richland Center, Wisconsin. Come on down and have some Wonder State coffee. Back after this, a news, sports, and agriculture update. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show live from Richland Center. Fantastic. All right, got about
I think a lot of this with Paul is, I think he feels guilty about the fact that, everybody who's come out against Trump, this is the thing that I say, Jane, a lot of times to my Democrat friends. All of us, we've gotten death threats. I had all my mom's neighbors got letters saying that I endorse pedophilia.
Oh my God.
My former former hockey coach when I was a kid growing up, in fact, came over with the letter and was like, who sent this? I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. I know you wouldn't do this. And I was like, and he's
Trigby, as I've told you in the past, you have to just tell these folks half the lies are not true.
Yes, I know. It doesn't bother me, but I do think somebody as high profile as Paul Ryan, there will be a concerted effort to make life miserable for him. His kids.
I'd say his
kids. His kids. And, that's what these kinds of actors do. And,
no, Trigby, I'm not saying it doesn't take courage, because it certainly does. It absolutely does. And
I get the frustration, Jane. I totally do.
But I promise I will I'll half hug him, okay? That's all I can do right now.
You should have him on the air.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime.
We'll come back and we'll talk, since Dale's here, we'll talk a little, and in the second hour we got Mark Cup coming on talking about the Lower Wisconsin Riverway, but we could talk a little bit about things that work. So Jane's going to have a smoke and a scone. She'll be back after this.
Also-
She's not listening anymore, but Jane's point about all the things we agree on, I mean, that's kind of the point of what you guys are out doing. It's what the point of what you and I've been doing. There's so many great things about Wisconsin, right, that everybody agrees on. Why is the University of Wisconsin under attack? Like public education, conservation, for God's sakes.
Yep.
By the way, we got a text from Jeff in Shorewood who asks if Trigby is with Aaron Rodgers at an ayahuasca retreat in Peru or Colombia.
I am not doing ayahuasca.
That's fantastic.
No, unfortunately not.
That's really good.
Can you believe he's on an ayahuasca retreat instead of being at training camp?
It's ridiculous. Well, that's what you get, you know. That's
Honestly,
what you get with Aaron Rodgers.
How much? Honestly, thank God we have Jordan Love.
I know. Thank God for Jordan Love.
And Jordan Love is like such a good guy. He's showing up, even though he doesn't have his contract. He's still
right.
Hey, Zommers, I got a new band for us. Not today, but Honeymoon Suite, one of the greatest underrated rock bands of the 80s.
But not today?
Not today.
Sounds good. Anything you do want today?
Hold on. Let me, maybe Honeymoon Suite after all. Just a sec.
They're fine.
The song that we should do is... we should do Feel It Again, maybe.
Feel It Again.
I did so well with Rattle My Bones last time by the Suburbs thing.
Yes, you did.
Zommers, I'm telling you, we need to go to the powers that be at Civic and get our little music show up and going.
That's something we could do.
So Dale, how do you plan on spending your 50s?
Well, I don't know. I'm hanging out with guys that are like you who are 25.
Yeah, it's a good thing we have old guys like Kreitlow on. I hope he's still watching.
Yep. You know, when I became 25 years old, I realized everyone was the same age. The artificial constructs of youth were gone.
We got about 30 seconds. Also,
All right.
Greg in Waukesha is asking, are there swings at that park?
Yes, there are swings. I'm not sure we have any swingers here, but we have swings.
God.
Richland
This is
Center
like
is
your-
a beautiful place
It is.
to come and visit.
20
We're gonna
seconds.
talk about. All right, here we go.
Todd, no talking about three ways.
Waiting so long to feel it again. I thought that this heart would never mend. To feel it again, I know it is the living end. To feel it again.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show, live on location at Crosscut Park in Richland Center, Wisconsin, the heart of the Driftless. Feel it again. Bipartisanship, getting things done, putting our problems aside. That's what we need more of. Joining us live as he does every Wednesday this week from an undisclosed location in beautiful Central America, Mr. Trigby Olson, like myself, a former Republican who is now the senior advisor at the Lincoln Project and here live in person, joining us on his birthday, no less. My former boss, former Senate Majority Leader Dale Schultz, Republican. Gentlemen, we appreciate having you here. We need more of that, right? We need to get back to doing things the way they were.
Yeah,
To some degree.
I couldn't agree with that more. We need to take time to appreciate one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jane is taking a well-deserved break because she's already on a 2-hour show. She'll be back with us a little bit later in the show, but she'll appreciate this because this is Richland Center, of course, is where, as you guys know, where I got my start in radio in high school in 1987. Ron Fruit took pity on me because I didn't want to flip burgers at Hardee's, and he gave me a job engineering the Brewers games. And so I was working at WRCO here in Richland Center. By the way, Phil Nee from RCO is going to join us next hour here on the show. And Dale ran for, in a special race, he was in the assembly, and he ran for state senate in 1992, right? 19, or 91, 92? 91. And so here I was staying at Mom last night, and I went downstairs in the old boxes and started digging around and see what I could find. And, I am a bit of a hoarder. And here in my hot little hands, I have the Schultz for Senate Do Not Erase original Senate commercials from 1991 on reel to reel. Reel to reel.
And they are available for the low price.
Yes, Dale will make a copy of this for $29.99, available in 3 easy payments. But I mean, I guess I bring that up just for nostalgia's sake. But Trigby, you and I we're about the same age. I mean, you were going around to radio stations when we still delivered these ads on reel to reel, and I mean, it was the time when you had Tommy Thompson and Tom Loftus and people who wanted to get things done. Trigby, are you there?
When you guys, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, so do you remember when you guys got to the state senate? Your office was right next to Bill Burns. You guys were right down the hall from me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they were, and on the second hour, by the way, we're going to have a guy who worked for the Republican senator before Dale, Dick Cruel. Mark Cupp is going to be on the program, and he is the executive director of the Lower Wisconsin Riverway Board. And Dale, you were in the legislature. Talk to us. We're going to talk to Mark Cupp next hour, but tell people how that was conceived and the bipartisanship it took to get it done.
Well, let me first add a little fact to your intro. Mark Cupp actually worked for me before he worked for Dick Cruel.
I didn't know that, really.
He did.
All right.
And it's important because of him and the good job he did. I think Dick had a vision of sort of juxtaposing against a blue ribbon commission that was designed from primarily people from Madison who were going to create the Lower Wisconsin Riverway. Dick said, well, why don't we use local officials? And I need some help doing that. And Mark saw an opportunity and didn't look back and did a fantastic job. So I wanted to say that. Why did it happen? It happened because Tommy Thompson was a real leader. He did 2 things. It was not a popular concept in the River Valley because of the arrogance of folks from Madison. And Tommy Thompson came to me and the other legislators and said, look, we're in a position where I can help you, but it's going to mean you're going to have to take a risk, and you're going to have to be willing to work with some Democrats. And that's pretty sobering in light of the last discussion we just had. But it was really prescient, and it was important. And at the same time, the principal author of the idea was Spencer Black, a really left-wing tiger in Madison, who was successful because he didn't have to have the whole loaf all the time. He knew that if it was a good idea, it would catch on. So he agreed with Tommy Thompson, and I agreed. And what happened is the local officials performed very well, actually came up with a tougher plan than Spencer Black was pitching. And that made it easy for him to get on board. And the negotiations we had were reasonable, and I'll let Mark talk about those if he so desires. But the point is, we were able to reach an agreement actually fairly quickly. Now, we didn't make everybody happy on both sides, but we made the vast majority of people happy, and the results are that we've met the test of time. And it's
35 years.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe it's taken that much time for me to look back and realize what a great thing it was. But Mark was, instrumental all the way along, and of course he was the logical person to hire as the executive director because he'd been involved with everybody who was involved in the issue, and I don't think he's disappointed a single person.
For people listening around the state of Wisconsin, and by the way, we're talking to former Senate Majority Leader, my former boss, Dale Schultz, here live in Richland Center. We have Trygve Olsen, ongoing contributor and senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, joining us via StreamYard. For those that don't know, the Lower Wisconsin Riverway is one of the greatest conservation projects in Wisconsin, preserving the integrity of the Lower Wisconsin Riverway. And Jane and I crossed it yesterday on Highway 23 in Spring Green. I said, look up that valley, Jane. It looks the same way as some of the explorers saw it 100 years ago to a large degree, and that was because of a bipartisan vision. And Trygve Olsen, Dale's a modest guy, despite being a politician, and I think one of the coolest moments in my many, he used to call me the Billy Martin of the Schultz office because I worked for him 5 different times, although unlike Billy Martin with the Yankees, I was never fired. But my last stint with Dale, his last term in the early 2010s, he got the award from the Sierra Club as being one of the best state legislators in the country because of his vote to help protect conservation and the environment in northern Wisconsin. And I staffed and we flew out to San Francisco, where he won this National Sierra Club Award for conservation. And you know who showed up? Spencer Black, because he wanted to be there to support Dale because they had worked bipartisanly for the Lower Wisconsin Riverway. That's the kind of leadership we need, Trygve.
It is the kind of leadership that we need. And here's the thing, and it's Dale's birthday, and I say this with all sincerity. That's a legacy. And what it makes me, as I was listening to you talk about it, Dale, what I keep wondering is, do these guys who are getting elected to office now, who are tearing down so many of the things that make Wisconsin great or nationally what makes America great, do they understand what kind of legacy they're leaving for themselves? I mean, Liz Cheney often says, long after Donald Trump is gone, the stain of appeasing Donald Trump will stay with them. How do they not get, when you think about your legacy, it's going to be enjoyed by generations of people from Wisconsin, and these guys are trashing their legacies.
Well, I didn't do this because I was working on a legacy. I did it because I thought it was the right thing, and because I thought Tommy Thompson made sense, and Spencer Black had been willing to come across and say, "Hey, I will work with you," and he was good to his word every single time. And I think the relationship between the local people, the legislators, certainly grew over time, even with the original advisory committee that was working on the river. They began to realize that the local officials were way more responsible than they figured they'd be.
Yeah.
And I think there was something for all of us to learn there in that process. And that's the good thing about democracy. You have the chance to learn something, and you have the opportunity to teach something when you enter into a relationship with others during the lawmaking process.
Trygve, you and I did a statewide tour a couple months ago. We're going to do another one coming up before the Republican National Convention here in July. Of course, you grew up in the River Falls area. Talk to us a little bit about kind of picking up on what Dale just said, local elected officials. Because Jade and I were talking as we drove out here. You get outside of D.C., you get outside of Madison, you get out to actual real country here in Wisconsin, and people find ways, for the most part, to get along and to solve our problems locally. I don't know if you know this or not, but Badger Boys State is happening this weekend in Eau Claire, where we're going to be tomorrow. I know you like to hear as the former governor about this a lot, but I wonder, because when I got in politics, when you did as Republicans, when I worked for Dale, one of the things that was always talked about is local control. Decisions are made best locally. No one usurped local control more than Scott Walker during his administration. Why do these current MAGA Republicans not take a page from the Dale Schultz book, the Tommy Thompson book, the Spencer Black book, and trust local officials?
Because I think they want ultimately, and Scott is a good case in point. The guy was running for governor when he was at Badger Boy State back in Ripon, and all the rest of us were trying to get the college girls up behind the dorms if we could. We didn't have much luck either, I can tell you, but because they were college girls. But I mean, honestly, that's what I think it's about. And here's the other thing: is the approach has just gotten different, right? Like Dale's calling up Spencer Black and saying, "Let's work together." Tommy Thompson's calling Gary George and Polly Williams and saying, "Hey, schools have got a problem." The best policy and the best politicians are ones who want to do. They see a problem or they see something that could be good for people in the state, and they say, who can I work with who shares this goal? And I'm not going to get 100% of what I want, but I'll get 75 and we'll leave something that, that is a legacy, even if it wasn't intended to be. And I know it wasn't in your case, Dale. It was you were doing the right thing.
I want a 1 minute answer from each of you. What Trivy just brought up here. He's so important, so right about this, is that in your time, Dale, you would always say, let's find ways to get it done. Why is it now that, and I'm going to say it's on both sides of the aisle, maybe more so mega Republicans, but there's no compromise anymore. It's like you have to get everything or else you're on the other side.
Well, I think it's money. It's the obscene amount of money in the process on both political, in both political parties, where the donors, the mega donors, want a return on investment, and they're greedy. And that should surprise no one. And that means they're expecting those folks that they've given huge sums of money to do their bidding for them. When I was running for office, knocking on doors and going to town halls for little fundraisers was, the business. You had to get to know people, and you had to find a way to get them to trust you. Yeah. And make an investment in you. Now you just hop on a plane and get $1 million or way more than that, flying around the country from the well-heeled.
Or if you're a congressional candidate like you were back in 2004, you're spending a lot of time dialing for dollars.
20 hours a week for a year and a half.
Boy, that's a joyride, isn't it? Triggy Olson, a minute left before the break.
I think it goes deeper than that, Dale. I think for a lot of these guys, it isn't even about raising the money to run elections. That's just a means to an end. What they're really looking for is the big payday for themselves on the other side as a lobbyist or as a guy running a youth organization that owns the Reagan Ranch like Scott Walker that's underwritten by, one of his biggest donors, and he gets paid $800,000 a year to do that and will tout whatever he has to do to keep the money flowing in for himself.
Well, I think you make a good point. I guess the world has changed a lot. It doesn't pay that well as a retired legislator, I assure you. But I am satisfied, and I feel completely satisfied with what I was able to do with my career in politics. And we need to encourage people to be in the business for the right reason, and they're out there. They just need to be asked, and they need to be supported.
If you have a question for Dale or Trigby, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Give us a call for Dale Schultz or Trigby Olson. When we come back, a bit more of things that are going right, the UW Richland system, and Aaron Rodgers. Is he with Trigby Olson? We'll ask. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show live on location on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Yeah, that's what NFL owners do. Hang out with their quarterbacks. He ain't my quarterback anymore, though. I have no idea if Woody Johnson is with them. And don't you think in the annals of great names, Woody Johnson is one of the great names of all time?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hey, Jane. Thanks.
I just think, Dale, it's become such a means to an end for so many of these guys, whether it's more power or whatever, right?
Well,
like that is what a lot of these people, it's a career. And that isn't what it used to be for Republicans.
Yeah,
Republicans
20 seconds.
didn't run a problem.
All right.
I agree completely.
wherever it may lead, and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show live on location in Richland Center at Crosscup Park at the beautiful Veterans Memorial Pavilion. Here on location with me, my former boss, former State Senate Majority Leader Dale Schultz, who is celebrating his 50th birthday today. We appreciate that, Dale. And from joining us from an undisclosed location in Central America, Tracy Olson, Senior Advisor to the Lincoln Project. Coming up next segment, my elementary art teacher, the wonderful, the fabulous Jane Kintz is going to be joining us. She will not be talking about my grades in art class, but she will be here talking about Frank Lloyd Wright, the great work that the local foundation is doing to preserve the warehouse here in Richland Center. And she's just one of these people. She has an Airbnb. She's a cat lover. And the best part about it, she's just cool. And she makes you better for being around. So Jane will join us next segment.
That's dangerous, Todd.
I know.
I really want to hear about your behavior, not your grades.
I actually found.
I once was at the comedy shop that is below Civic Media, and Chris Farley was there, and they asked him to get up on stage. And he looks out and sees his teacher who flunked him in English in high school and invites her on stage. And that lady absolutely left Chris Farley with nothing to say. So be careful.
Well, I mean, I might have always gotten the best grades, but Miss Kintz always liked me. We always got along. So yeah, it was. She calls me one of her favorite art students. Key phrase, one of. But we'll have her on next segment. Dale, before we go, I want to get your quick thoughts, Dale, on this. An article, a great reporting came off Wisconsin State Journal over the weekend talking about E.W. Richland. Of course, Jay Rothman has closed this campus here. Jane and I, Matt and Aaron and I were over there. Such a beautiful campus. It's a tragedy, I think, what's happening to the UW system. Your thoughts, not necessarily specifically on Richland, but, I mean, you were a Senate Majority Leader. You were past former chair of the Senate University Committee. What is your take? Where are we at? What is the future? I know that's a lot, but just, I guess, sum it up in your words and your experience.
Well, what I think is this. Where we're at is the younger generations, Gen Z and Gen X, have to step up and communicate clearly their fears about the economy. And they also at the same time have to realize the importance of education in fueling our economic development. And by that I mean all forms of education, K-12, technical college, and the university. And if we don't support them, we're going to write our own future, and it's not going to be pretty. But we have an opportunity to stand up, and that's what I'm looking for. 855-752-4842. Mr. Zomer says we have a phone call back at the World Headquarters. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, it's Jeannie in Sun Prairie.
Jeannie in Sun Prairie. Thank you, Jeannie, for calling in. Jeannie, go ahead. You're on the air, Jeannie.
Representative Stoltz, I worked there at the Capitol during the time you were referring to. I worked for Crawford and Redkowski and Grzinski. And certainly you know those three.
I most certainly do.
But, I think, and, it was just a much friendlier time when people wanted to compromise and get legislation passed, and they did. You guys would go to work during the day and then go play cards at the Inn on the Park or something and have drinks together. It was just, and I think too, I believe even to this day, most people, like I'm a public servant, I do it because I want to make things better for my community. And I think that to be true of like Melissa Radcliffe, who's our new rep. She replaced Gary Hebel. And, she wants to do good for the people.
Jeannie,
and
thank you.
There's plenty to be done. And go ahead.
No, wrap it up quickly. Go ahead, please.
Oh, that's good. I could go on and on and on. I'm enjoying this conversation.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. About 4 minutes left, guys. Or actually 3 minutes left. Dale, quickly, you were there during Act 10. You are the only Republican in the state Senate that voted against Act 10. To Jeannie's point, Your wife is one of the most outstanding people I know. I know you call her your hero. She was the district administrator. She was a teacher here. She transformed public education in Richland County. She's a public servant. Jeannie's a public servant. Why? Republicans, in my opinion, had a major mistake in attacking public service.
Well, I completely agree. But the reason why I did what I did, and what I think the reason why my wife did what she did, is that we were pretty good listeners. And you were with me many nights when I'd go and meet with 600 or 700 of my closest friends in some gymnasium somewhere, and everybody was mad at me because I wouldn't tell them how I was going to vote. And then I'd have to explain, look, I'm here to listen. If I'd already made up my mind how I was going to vote, some of you would say, well, you're not very honest. And I said, I have not made up my mind. I want to hear what's on your mind, and from that I will, make my decision, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may afterwards. And I think that was the right way to proceed, and a lot of people have told me that since then.
Trivia Olson, about a minute and a half left. As we travel around the state, you and I, as Jane Matnair travels around the state with me, there are so many great public servants, so many people volunteering, so many great teachers, that's part of what makes Wisconsin great.
100%. And I mean, you mentioned Badger Boys States at the Eau Claire campus. Think about the conversation we had with Jim Schmidt, the chancellor up there, Mike Johnson, the superintendent of public instruction. But then also think about the people that we met, in Eau Claire, in La Crosse at the Radisson, or the guys at the bar in Stevens Point. People in Wisconsin, they don't wear red and blue in their daily lives. They wear green and gold. And they get that Wisconsin is a place, and it's Tommy Thompson's line, but ideally is a place where eagles soar along the St. Croix and Mississippi rivers, Harleys roar all around the state, and the Packers score on Sundays, right? That's what they want, but they're not getting it.
Yeah.
And if you want to see some volunteers, show up at Richland Center this weekend for our Dairy Days and Rodeo Parade and the Wisconsin Rodeo Finals. You're going to see some of the finest, most motivated volunteers anywhere. They do a great job every year.
Well, coming up next, we've got our Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. We'll give you a keyword, give you a chance to win some great prizes, and then it is a Richland Center Lollapalooza. Some of the best people you'll ever want to meet in the country, in the state of Wisconsin. It's all Richland County for the next 60 minutes. You're not going to want to miss it. It's a lot of what makes Wisconsin great. Phil Nee from WRCO is standing by. Jay Matnair is here with me. Dale Schultz, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Trivy, keep her safe down there. Get back in the States. We'll see you next Wednesday. Don't go anywhere. We are live on location on the Civic Media Radio Network. Thanks, Trigby. Appreciate it.
Yep. Tell Dale
All right.
happy birthday.
All right. We'll sing him happy
All right,
birthday
I'm
or
going
something.
back to my darkness tent.
All right. We didn't get to Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
No, I'm
right.
not in the least.
Keep her safe. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
See you, Zommers.
Adios.
Welcome back to Richland Center.
Well, thanks. It's always good to be here. I appreciate it. Sorry I didn't get up.
There's Cheese Curd Fest in Ellsworth, Strawberry Fest in Cedarburg, Festival of the Arts in Stevens Point, and the Renaissance Fair in Bristol, Honor the Earth Powwow in Hayward, Mile of Music in Appleton, Venetian Fest, Bratfest, Summerfest. So many fests for your whole crew. Find them all at TravelWisconsin.com. Sponsored by Travel Wisconsin.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app. You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. We're learning more about 8 migrants from Central Asia who entered the U.S. at the southern border earlier this year. Homeland Security says they were vetted then and no security issues came up until later. The arrests, part of the raised threat warning. ABC's Aaron Kotursky has more from New York.
Some of the Tajik migrants were monitored. Now all of them have been taken into custody in New York.
Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. There's not enough evidence to charge them, but immigration authorities detain them. They're now expected to be deported.
President Biden on his way to Italy for the G7 summit this week. He's expected to announce a $50 billion loan for Ukraine using profits from seized Russian assets. Residents in South Florida now bracing for another round of rain, that on top of 8 inches of rain they've already received yesterday, with flooding concerns. Consumer prices rose a modest 0.2% last month compared to April, better than expected. It comes as the Fed board is expected to announce what it will do next about interest rates. This is ABC News.
This news report is sponsored by Wisconsin Capital Management LLC, serving their clients for 40 years. Visit wiscap.com.
Testing 1, 2.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what
Hello.
Wisconsin needs to know. Wisconsin will require farmers to test lactating dairy cows for influenza A before taking them to fairs or other exhibitions starting on the 19th. It's part of the government's attempt to contain the bird flu that's been spreading in dairy herds in other states, including Iowa, Minnesota, and Michigan. Wisconsin kids are doing well overall, but black and brown kids, not as much. That's according to the annual Annie E. Casey Foundation Kids Count data book. The Casey Foundation's Leslie Bossier says it's been the same story over the data book.
Can we do a sound check?
Oh, my producer wants you to put it on now, please. We'll do a little sound check. All right, Jane. Kintz, go ahead and say something, please.
Hello.
How's art class?
Well, it was good while it happened.
It sure did.
I'm retired now.
I know. Good for you. And so that's Jane. Jane, Matt,
All right.
you can put your headsets on, please. Bill, Aaron wants to do a little sound check.
Sure.
Hello?
Check. Can
you turn
Testing
Phil
1, 2,
Knee
3.
down?
Nobody turns Phil Knee down.
Are these my headphones?
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right. Your volume
That
okay
should
your
be-
headphones?
Yeah, it's very good, Todd.
It's loud.
Loud. All right.
Testing 1, 2.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Very
Check.
good.
Check.
All right.
7, 8, 9.
All right, we should be good.
Muchas gracias.
He didn't even say thank you.
3 minutes.
De nada.
Trump's rally, 3 o'clock Tuesday.
Where at? Here?
You see, right? Wouldn't that be something?
I could see it happening.
Oh.
Let's see. At Racine Festival Park. Maybe it'll rain.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
Tornado.
The Severe Storm Prediction Center is put out
See if you can talk to Brittany and see if she can cook something up for you.
Seriously. Brittany, make the weather work for us for once. Oh, and Aaron Rodgers didn't show up for training camp.
He's at a ayahuasca ceremony.
He really didn't? Is that true?
That's true. He went to a ayahuasca ceremony instead of going to training camp. And
What is
locked
that?
himself in a dark, it's like herbal stuff that, it's like mushrooms.
Far out.
Far out. It's a psychedelic.
As we say it back in Richland County, you can take a trip without even leaving the farm.
That's right. Naked, singing on the windmill.
Welcome to another edition of Those Were the Days.
Oh, yes.
Give ourselves some applause. There.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm so jealous you have that.
Thank you.
I am so jealous of that.
I don't use it that much, but I should.
If I had that, I would be the most obnoxious human being on the planet.
Here's a fun one. I'm not going to vote for that Donald Trump. Son of a.
Whoops. Remember Ray Schrader had a thing. He'd go to cough, and he'd be like, "Ugh," and then he'd hit it afterwards. He couldn't quite time it right. It'd go right over the ear.
And then the intake breath was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh, Lordy. Hello, Christopher.
All right, we got about a minute. And Todd, your sister says, thanks for keeping the camera on during breaks. You know that we love to watch how the sausage is made. It's cool to see behind the scenes.
And Heather, of course, had Miss Kintz as art teacher as well. So And did they stay at the Airbnb once? Maybe when they were in town.
No.
Oh, never. All right.
Yeah, her grade went down.
Your grade post school, Heather, has been not.
30 seconds.
All right, here we go.
Live on location, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, live from Crosscut Park in Richland Center, Wisconsin, the heart of the Drift List. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite on this beautiful, it's getting a little overcast now, but still pretty darn beautiful.
It's a really nice day. Absolutely.
I'm joined by Jane Matnair on air every morning from 10 until 6. We're doing our On the Road with Jane and Todd tour. It's fantastic. Mr. Aaron Zomer is back at the world headquarters high atop State Street, a block off the Capitol Square. Mr. Zomer's forecast down in Madison. What's it like right now? Still sunny there?
Hump day!
Oh, it's hump day,
Well,
as a
it's
matter
hump
of fact.
day, but also-
Things are quite interesting back at the world headquarters. Too bad I left, as it turns
It's
out.
starting to get a little bit overcast out here, but it's still mostly sunny.
All right, very good. Well, it's great to have you along. It's going to be an all Richland Center-tastic hour here as I'm joined by Jane. It's going to be so much fun. We are joined by our colleague at Civic Media, the station manager, the voice of WRCO, Mr. Philip James Nee. Phil, thanks for making time for us.
Good afternoon. You know, the best walk-up song would have been Jane by the Jefferson Starship, though, because we have a pair of Janes here today.
You can't. It's hard to beat a pair of Janes.
That's right.
You can't. Speaking of, we have also with us at the table here at the desk Jane Kintz, who was my elementary art teacher for a number of years and now is involved with so many things. You have an Airbnb. You're part of the local Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation at the warehouse. Jane, thanks for coming out.
You're welcome.
It's
Did I
great.
talk to you about your grade? I'm still waiting for a few pieces to be turned in. Your grade is in danger.
It's incomplete.
Incomplete.
My life is incomplete in a lot of ways. We'll talk more about the old times in a minute, but I was at Mom's house last night, and I went down. I found a reel from Dale Schultz's 1991 campaign from RCO.
Wow.
Which is priceless. That's so priceless.
And I also found my 5th grade science book right here as well. But I returned it. I think I bought it after it had been discarded. Here it is, Jane.
Yeah.
Discarded. But when 1970, when the book was issued, it was in good condition to 72, 75. And by the time it got down to later on, it was only in fair condition. And then in 1980 and 81, Cindy Gray had this book. I graduated with high school. So, Cindy, I'm not sure how I got your science book. But, I mean, Otis Scott, the late, great Otis Scott, was my 5th grade teacher. In all seriousness, Jane, you were one of my absolute favorite teachers because you were cool. And it wasn't just like art you taught me. It was like how to treat people. And you were so open and accepting. And it was like, I don't care who you are or what your background is. Let's just all bring each other together around art. And it was one of my earliest experiences of realizing how art and the arts can break down barriers and unify people. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
But it's powerful, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the arts are a powerful part of bringing communities together.
Well, it's true. You know, art should be the center of everything, and, I feel.
Yeah.
And really, when you think about it, it really is, but people don't recognize it as that.
Not as much as they should.
Yeah.
Not as much as they should. And you're in all your years, and you've kept teaching part-time for long. How long have you been retired now?
Oh, 1 year. Totally retired.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats, number one.
Thank you.
But thinking about back on your long and important career, what are a couple of lessons that you may have learned as an educator after all that time? What did you come away with in your retirement looking back that you learned having been a teacher for so long, an art teacher?
Well, first of all, art is a fun subject to teach, but it's not just fun. And it's skill building and relationships. It's different than like math or English or any of those classes where you don't get to communicate. You can talk while you're working the whole time. I mean, and you did.
See, well, she can attest to that.
And now he's getting paid for it.
Right, now I get paid for it.
Yeah,
I
see?
used to get put in the corner. Now I get paid for it. No, you're
So do you remember when I used to kid you and say, I think you were 5th or 6th grade or both, and I said, Todd, I see you wearing a plaid suit coat, like Herb Tarok, a WKRP,
Yeah.
and look at, here you are.
Here I am.
You're on the radio.
I'm working radio.
But where's your plaid coat? I
left
should
my
have
plaid coat at home.
bought one at Goodwill or something.
Phil Nee, you have the morning program on WRCO, WRCE. People around the state can listen to it on the Civic Media app. And by the way, download the Civic Media app because in a minute we're going to give you the keyword for the hour. You also host a talk show, the morning show, a local talk show where you focus on community. You've talked to so many educators. Your family's involved in education. What is public education? What has it done for Southwest Wisconsin and all the people that you've talked to?
Well, yes, I have 2 teachers in the family now. 2 of my children are. So it's very important. And I love the public school aspect, because that's what we have here in Southwest Wisconsin. And one of the concerns that we do have when we talk with some of the politicians is funding for schools and how that happens and if that could someday change, not just to be for pupil count, because a lot of these schools are having declining enrollment, but the kids are still getting quality education. So you have to kind of find a way to maybe improve that situation.
Yeah. Jane, as we drove out here, I said we're going to try to have an opportunity to drive over the hill here and take her over to Ithaca. I mean, it's to a lot of people, it might sound not weird, but odd. It is straight out of Phil. I mean, especially the old gymnasium. It's straight out of Hoosiers.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
But the point is, the Ithaca School District that you're a proud graduate of and your kids went there, it is the community. It is the community.
Yeah, most small schools, the school is the center of the community. And that's I mean, everything that goes on in that community, people take pride in it. And again, it doesn't matter your political background, your religious background, or whatever. Everybody wants what's best for the kids, and they come out and cheer for them in a positive way. So that's what I love about small schools.
Yeah.
And that's something, too, that I think most of us can agree upon.
Right.
Is that we need well-funded public schools, not just private. If you want to do private, that's great. But as we were talking about last hour, we are funding 2 separate school systems right now. And that may not be the best way to go forward.
Probably not, right? But I mean, if it hadn't been for great teachers like Jane Kins here, and I can run through a litany. I talk a lot about a lot of my former teachers on the show. But Otis Scott in 5th grade, honest to God, had he not gotten me involved in the conservation speaking contest, here's a kid that has a speech impediment. It goes out and thinks he could be I end up getting 3rd place. And then, years later, because I didn't want to flip burgers at Hardee's, I go down to WRCO, and Ron Fruit takes pity on me and says, I'll give you a chance. And then Phil Nee helps me out and teaches me. I mean, had it not been for these opportunities, I would never have the opportunity that I do right now. And I mean, the people here today, they're the reason if I've been successful in anything, not because of anything great that I've done, it's because the people around me who made me that way. It makes a difference who we have as a teacher.
Oh, yeah. I remember all my fabulous teachers.
You keep in contact with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the ones that are still around,
Yeah.
Ken Beatty, number 1.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy. May he rest in
Yep.
peace. Really,
Yep.
really great person. Phil, what's going on I know in your life you've got a son getting married this weekend?
That's right.
Oh, how exciting.
Yep, James and Haley are marrying Saturday in Reedsburg, and looking forward to having that opportunity to be there. For the father of the groom, there aren't too many responsibilities. Maybe just give a quick speech before the meal, and that's about it. So I don't even get a dance, because
that's true, right?
Yeah, because he dances with her mother, I think. Is that how it works?
He dances with your wife.
With my wife. Okay, so he dances with his mother, and she dances with, I don't know. But I know that I'm getting left out.
Right.
You know?
Right. Who are you dancing with?
And then they're getting married Saturday. Father's Day is Sunday. I know I'm going to be like Molly Ringwald in 16 Candles where they forget her
Everybody's
birthday.
going to forget.
They're going to forget Father's Day, Todd.
If you take pity on Phil, send him something, a Venmo or something for Father's Day. Let's do this real quick. Mr. Zommers, if you're ready, it is time once again for Civic Media's Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. Let's go.
Two bare feet on the dashboard, young love and an old Ford, cheap shades and a tattoo and a yoo-hoo bottle on the floorboard, perfect song on the radio, sing along cause it's one we know, it's a smile, it's a kiss, it's a sip of wine, it's summertime.
It is summertime. There's no better place to spend summertime than right here in the hills of southwest Wisconsin. Phil, you've dangled your feet in the Pine River or a couple of creeks around Richland County in the summertime, right?
Willow Creek.
Willow Creek?
Absolutely. That's where we went after we would finish making hay. That was like the public swimming pool, right? Yeah.
Right. And now the community's built this beautiful public swimming pool behind us and splash pad. It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, the aquatic center is awesome. You know, I don't think I'm going to fit through that tube, but it'd be fun to go down it.
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah, that's true.
Things have changed at the old RC since Rob Wheat and I dangled our feet by the footbridge in the Pine River. You know, we used to feed ducks and chase ducks along the Pine River. You were at Willow Creek. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Anyway, oddly enough, Jane and I noticed driving out here from Madison, there was a dark car tailing us the entire way. Turns out Civic Media sent along the company lawyers to follow us. They're standing just off camera there. And it's important to remind you, this is a statewide text to win contest. We have to tell you that or bad things happen. It's a statewide contest.
Thank you, Todd, because they're here too. They've been waiting for you to say it.
Very good. Ooh. So here's the deal. You can win. Here's what's up for grabs. A Wisconsin Dells Summer Prize Pack. Now, have you looked at the pack?
I haven't. I heard it's pretty fantastic.
I peeked in the pack and it's fantastic. So let me tell you, it's really fantastic. That's 1 hour. Then once a day, a pair of Milwaukee Brewer Club level seats. Phil and you and I have been down there.
Yes, we have.
They're beautiful seats.
Yeah, I think we got Craig Counsell. You know, it was his last game as a Brewer manager, last game of the season last year.
But they're beautiful seats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Not your average Brewer seat.
No.
And then 2 grand prize winners at the end of this week on Friday after Jane and I are in Amory will be chosen randomly, and you will receive a choice of one of the following. A unique summer staycation. A Fort Atkinson cottage on the lake, including a pontoon boat.
Go with the pontoon.
And rumor has it that our own Pat Kreitlow will be along as the captain. Dale Schultz may join in as well in a bipartisan boat tour. Lake Geneva stay at the beautiful harbor shores, or the East of the East Door County stay at the Ridges Inn and Suites. And guess what? Going to throw in a gas card just to get you there and back. So all that more. The good things are good things. So here's the word of the hour. Go open your Civic Media app. Choose any one of the fine stations. I would say WRCE right here in Richland Center, or RCO. But choose a station. Then open it up on the right-hand side of the screen. You'll see a little bubble that says text. And text the word register. 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 It ain't easy, but do it. Otherwise, I got to buy Jane a steak dinner on Friday. Register is the word. Back and more after this with the RC. Oh, the Brewers. That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Joanne.
See, that's right there. I'm going to be gone. So.
We need a judge.
Yeah, you going? Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's fine. All right, thank you.
Hey, Todd, can you turn your own volume up a little bit?
Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Tom. You're gonna take Bill's place.
What's that?
Here you go, Tom. Okay. Were you recently in Ireland? Did I hear that? All right, there you go. There's a talking point for you, Tom.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. In Ireland.
Take care, Phil.
Yeah, see you later.
Bye.
Wait, so you have somebody else in here now?
Yep, this is Tom McCarthy, former mayor of Richland Center, and for many a year was not just my barber, he was
10
my hair
seconds.
care professional.
Uh-huh.
Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show, live on location in Richland Center, Wisconsin at Crosscup Park. Glad to have you along with us. The word for this hour in the Civic Media Scotty Summer Text to Win contest.
Onomatopoeia.
Register.
Oh, that's what it is.
Register, Jane. Register. The word is registered. Jane.
I may have been incorrect.
She gives these like 3-letter words. Mine is register. But no, do yourself a favor. Text in on the Civic Media app. The word is register, as in it's time to register to vote. That's one of the things you can do when you get the text. Doesn't matter what party you belong to, who you're voting for. You're going to get a text back, and you can check whether or not you're registered to vote. So do that, and then you get another entry.
It's a little bonus entry.
A little bonus entry for you. So register is the word. Register. Jay Matnair of Matnair on Air is live with me. We also have Jane Kins, my elementary art teacher. We're going to talk Frank Lloyd Wright in a minute. But we're also joined now at the table. And thanks to Phil Nee, by the way, for stopping by. He has other things. He's a busy guy.
One of the hardest working men in radio, seriously.
He really is.
Yes, he is.
He really is. So we thank Phil Nee for stopping by. But his seat is taken by, for many a year, from the time I was born until about 35, he wasn't just my barber. He was my hair care professional. More importantly, he was a 3-term mayor of the city of Richland Center, who is retired now, but is back in town and so kind enough to spend a couple of minutes with us. Tom McCarthy, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me, Todd.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You look fantastic.
Well, it's good to get back and see a lot of the old people and, make acquaintances again. So,
yeah. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because, and we talked about this a little bit this hour, is the divisiveness in politics now. I want you to talk for a moment when you were mayor of Richland Center, how you worked with people from all sides and you just got things done. And how does that contrast to what you see now in politics in general?
Well, as far as the local, I think we had a very good group that really worked together. The people in Madison worked with us. It was not this my side against your side, so I think I guess I'm afraid of what's going on right now. So.
Yeah. From the Dike in Richland Center to promotion of
It seems as though Todd had some technical difficulties. We will be back as soon as we can, but for now, enjoy the rest of that tune. Barracuda by Heart, which I've chosen as the unofficial theme song for On the Road with Jane and Todd, since I feel like it's a good showdown song for their competition between the two of them as to who can get the most entries to our Scotty Summer statewide text to win contest. If you want to enter, the keyword for this hour is register. REGISTER. You can sign up or you can download the Civic Media app and text us that number through there. You'll be entered to win every hour of the contest. We're giving away a prize pack for Wisconsin Dells. Every day we're giving away a set of 2 Brewers tickets to the club level seats, and they are fantastic, let me tell you, as well as 2 grand prizes across last week and this week that will be awarded at the end of the week for a staycation. It's a vacation somewhere in Wisconsin along 3 beautiful locations, and you will have the opportunity to get a gas card as well. So you don't even have to pay to get there either. It's really fantastic. And when you get the text, you can also respond. In the confirmation message, there's a link to check if you're registered to vote. We're not asking who you're voting for. Just want to make sure that you're engaging in your community. And it's a great opportunity to double up your chance to get another shot at that grand prize. So stick around. We're going to be back with the Todd Allbaugh Show in a moment. And hopefully Todd will be right back.
Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 18 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Go to freedomfireworkswi.com.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. A former attorney for Donald Trump is removed from a state committee that advises Wisconsin judges. The state Supreme Court is suspending Jim Trupus temporarily from the Wisconsin court system's Judicial Conduct Advisory Committee. Trupus and 2 others are charged with felonies in the 2020 Republican fake elector scheme. The economy is the #1 issue for American voters. Susan Webb-Yaki of the La Follette School of Public Affairs says young voters in particular are dismayed about the cost of housing.
I can't afford the American dream, right? And you're trying to sell that to young folks in America and sell your vision of tomorrow, and you can't afford the American dream.
And UW political scientist Barry Burden says young voters are less likely to be partisans. The two spoke at a WisPolitics luncheon yesterday. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Managers of the building where 12 people were hurt in a shooting early Sunday morning may not be adhering to their security plans. WISC reports the plan submitted in 2014 to build the Lux on Johnson Street say they'll have on-site management and a rooftop management plan. Specifically, people would only be able to get to the rooftop during certain hours. But one resident told WISC there aren't any security measures there, and that's why people who don't even live there were able to get up to the roof and throw a party.
Hello? Hello.
Thank you. We'll post it. Hey, all right, thank you. Great to see you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks. All right, take care. Mark? Yeah, Marty, Mark, why don't you guys come on over? Marty, you're right. Go for your glasses, Jane. Marty, this is right here.
Okay. I'm just trying to stay out of your way.
Thanks for doing it. Thank you very much. Mark, great to see you. You too. Thank you so very much. Why don't you sit right there on the end where Todd was? Thank you. All right, Aaron, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Testing 1, 2. Aaron, can you hear me? Yep, I can hear you.
Yes.
I don't know what happened. But we're back now.
Can you turn your own volume up a little bit?
Test 1, 2, sound check.
Yep, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Yeah, that should be better. Who else do we have?
And Marty, what's your official title?
I'm the tourism director, Greater Richland Tourism Director. Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Oh, and can you turn Jane down a little bit?
Yep, on it. All right.
I am am not Jane's voice.
Am I still too loud?
Just a little bit more.
Check, 999.
Okay, that should be good.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you very much. Thank you so very much. All right.
We back on stream?
Yeah.
Hail. Stay weather savvy. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, 85 degrees.
It's that time of year again. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday
So I think what we'll
celebration.
do,
With 18
guys, is
southeastern
we'll kind of do a
Wisconsin
little tag
locations,
team here, and we'll kind of bring them both in, talk about the area. Probably have you go first here and do a little bit of the what's coming up this weekend, and then we'll kind of in the latter part of the segment because we go now. We got almost a half an hour, so and then we'll kind of get more into the lower Wisconsin, the second part. If that's okay with you guys?
Sure.
So okay,
That works. Mark and I can actually work well together. We learn. So
I bet you can.
just last week.
That's
Oh, really? Yeah.
Did a bunch of video
Fantastic.
promos.
See, people out here just work together.
You can get things done.
That's right. Exactly.
All right, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's so nice of you. Thank you so much. Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. We are live on location at Crosscup Park in Richland Center, Wisconsin. Now, here's what happened. Jane and I are in this heated contest internally at Civic Media. Who could get the most texters in our statewide Civic Media Scotty Summer Text to Win contest? By the way, our word this hour is register. REGISTER. Take a breath. Register. She gets words like pop. Register. So here's what happened. At the end of the week, whoever has the most texters during our show, Jane's on 10 to noon, we're on noon to 2, where the loser has to buy the winner a steak dinner, you understand? So apparently she hired her own IT people to come out and cut our feed to take us off the air so we get less texts.
I don't know how that
Joke's
happened,
on you,
Todd.
Jane.
I was not
Joke's on you,
anywhere
Jane. I
near-
used the time to say the word a bunch of extra times.
Very good. Well done, Mr. Zombers.
Foiled
Back
again.
yeah.
Foiled.
Well, I'm not sure what happened, but we apologize. You know, that happens. We're out in the field a little bit.
Absolutely.
We're live radio, and it's like the tightrope. I mean, things happen, and you just got to roll with it. And we got a good crew here to roll with it. So without further ado, want to bring, by the way, we thank Tom McCarthy, former mayor of Richland Center, and Jane Kins, great art teacher, great ambassadors to Richland Center and the Richland area both. We thank them for being on. And we are joined this half hour by the executive director of the Lower Wisconsin State Riverway Board, Mark Cupp, and we talked a little bit about Dale Schultz. And I guess I'd forgotten, Mark, that you had actually worked for Dale before you worked for former Senator Dick Krull.
That's right. I was very fortunate to work for both gentlemen, and I had the best of both worlds in the legislature. Dale, who was a modern legislator, and Dick, who was education from both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, really, really great people. And also, Mark Richards, he is the tourism director for organization.
It seems as though Todd is having some connection issues again. While we work through that, I will play Get Along by Kenny Chesney. So you can enjoy that.
Missouri learned a lot more about beef and pork production and other row crops.
Met a man wearing a t-shirt said Virginia's for lovers. Had a Bible in his left hand and a bottle in the other. He said all you're really given is the sunshine in your name. We We both started laughing when the sky started to rain. Get along on down the road. We got a long, long way to go. Scared to live, scared to die. We ain't perfect, but we try. Get along while we can. Always give love the upper hand. Paint a wall, learn to dance. Call your mom, buy a boat, drink a beer, sing a song, make a friend. Can't we all get along? Saw a model on a billboard, 1-800-GET-TO-KNOW-ME. Wondered was she photoshopped or were her eyes really that...
In the meantime, while we're working on the connection, I'm going to replay some of last Friday's interview talking about Kernza, this very interesting grain being developed. Although, actually, we may have Todd back right now.
Mr. Zommers, can you hear us? Rangoon,
Yes,
this
we
is
are back.
Bombay. Come in. Are you there? Well, things have gotten saucy out here. It's getting a little humid. Maybe that's, I'm not sure. We apologize for the technical issues. Has nothing to do with any team. It's one of those things. So we'll just move forward. Marty Richards, again, thanks for being here with the Greater Richland area, the director of the tourism folks. Tell us a little bit about what you do here and about the great happenings of Richland County.
You bet. So I've been in the position now 4 years, and when I came in, it was kind of a smaller entity. It was really just Richland Center. And at that time, I was charged by the powers that be that said, hey, we need to grow this entity and really get our story out to the rest of the country, quite honestly. And so we've decided that we're going to project our message to basically 14 million people. Because if you drew a circle about 300 miles out, we know folks will drive about 3 hours for a weekend stay or a 3-day, 4-day stay. And we have gotten 5 townships that now have adopted the room tax and have, and that may sound odd in a rural area. Why would you go out and get townships to adopt the room tax? Well, let me tell you, in our area, we're in the middle of the Driftless area, really great representation of the Driftless area. The narrow valleys, steep hills, beautiful landscape. Hotel rooms are not our forte. However, private short-term rentals are. There are somewhere between 70 and 80 private short-term rentals in Richland County right now, and that number may be conservative, quite honestly, because it depends on when you check.
Sure.
But what's happened is that these townships recognize when they need revenue as well, so the township gets to keep 30% of the overall room tax collected. They can help fix their roads, fix their culverts, and then the tourism entity gets 70%, and we've turned that into our advertising campaign. And really, we've relied on online streaming advertising directed specifically to the certain Chicago areas, Milwaukee areas, and then soon to come, we're hoping to target Minneapolis as well. In doing so, we also do traditional print advertising. And if you go to our social media sites, go to YouTube. I really encourage folks to go to YouTube, our YouTube channel. There's like 180 videos out there that showcase place names, how things got its name. How did Hell Hollow get its name? And it's kind of an interesting story. And there are some Paul Harvey moments in those. We try to keep them short and tell our story. So Greater Richland Tourism, the channel there has just a ton of videos that are really informative. But has that worked? So our website traffic, we got a new website about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, and we have seen just an exponential jump every year as we've expanded that streaming. Last year, our overall increase for the year over 2022 to 2023 was 113%.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing, and well, hold on to your hats, because now we expanded our streaming to the Chicago, Northwest Chicago suburbs this past March, and now our website traffic has jumped another, just in those 3 months, to where we've matched already what our 2022 traffic was.
That's fantastic.
The other thing that shows is that the measure of are we, having any success with what we're doing, Department of Revenue and Wisconsin Tourism just came out with their tourism-related spending, how it ranked in 2023. So the previous 2 years, we had double-digit increases. We were seeing 12 and 13% increase in tourism-related spending in Richland County. Last year, we saw another 6.4% increase. That may not sound like much, but we outperformed, I believe it was 49 other counties in the percent increase. Now, Richland County 7-8 years ago was used to be in next to last or last. We really hadn't put together how are we going to market the area. We have a campaign now. We know what we're doing. The imagery we have is so much better now. We can show you people enjoying our kayaking. We can show the biking. We can show hiking, and that's been very effective.
I don't want to run out of time. Give us a couple of things. I know a couple of big things are happening here in Richland Center, Richland County. It's a weekend for folks that want to take a weekend trip. What can they come and enjoy at Richland County, Marty?
Yeah, I'd say one of our biggest attractions, there's a couple actually that kind of rate real close. We can't forget that our full southern border is the Wisconsin River, and Mark will talk more about that. That is always an attraction, whether it's canoeing, fishing, what have you. But also one of our top 5, I would say, is the Pine River, kayaking the Pine River. We always like to advertise it as it's the Wisconsin Dells without the noise. And it is, because if you've ever been down the Pine River, the rock formations, we have our karst geology with limestone, sandstone. There are overhanging cliffs over the river. There's the natural bridge in Pierre County Park and Rock Bridge. Some of the scenery, and we've done some studies of folks, what they were impressed with when they came here, and the scenic views and our rock formations are definitely one of those. And on the Pine River, that you really get a great different look at it. Biking on the Pine River Trail, the Ash Creek Forest is 254 acres of, marked trails. Go nuts. It's really a great experience. I think probably 2 of the biggest things, we have visitors. So I also talk with a lot of short-term rental guests, and I'll always ask them, what did you enjoy? And I think the serenity is a huge part of it. It's just getting out of the anxiety. Coming into a very relaxing place is huge. And my story to short-term rental folks, where it kind of throws them off a little bit, is they'll quickly say, well, I was at the gas station and somebody came up, started talking to me. In the big city, I'm afraid, okay, there's something, what's going on?
What do you want?
I said, here, it's truly, they just want to talk about the weather. Right. And you genuinely, it's okay to accept that. We have some of the friendliest people that you will find in Wisconsin.
And we have the State High School Rodeo Finals here this weekend at the fairground. I've volunteered on that for years. It's a great, great event. And yes, we have Rodeo Wisconsin. It's a great rodeo. And yes, there are bull riders. Those guys have nerves of steel. And there's also the big Taste of the Hills here at Crosscut Park this weekend, a great event as well.
Yep, our chamber is quite active and has quite a few different events they hold throughout the summer. Taste of the Hills kind of kicks that off. They do the wine walks in the spring and the fall as well. But then every 3rd Friday of each month up to September at the train depot, they have a night market. There's always live music, there's always food, and there's always vendors. But we have just a ton of regular experiences. Keewaydin Farms, Driftless Curiosity regularly has workshops that you can learn the different aspects of living in the driftless, fishing, fly fishing, how to make crafts just off what's raised or make food off what's raised on the farm. We also have several different events that occur, like Thunderfest will be coming up the weekend prior to the 4th of July because we like a good bargain. So that's how you get a bargain on your fireworks.
I just sit up Mom's back deck and watch the fireworks down here in the park. So
well, yeah, that's right.
I'll be back for that for sure.
And they have just a ton of music that weekend. It's like 8 hours of straight music with live bands, too.
Marty Richards, thank you so very much. We really appreciate you staying by here. Marty, of course, with the Greater Richland Tourism. He is the director of that. I want to turn to Mark Cupp, a guy who I've known a long time, one of the finest people I know, because you can work with anybody.
Thanks,
you have a great demeanor. And I think the Lower Wisconsin Riverway is just one of the best examples of bipartisanship. And taking politics out of it, or I guess you could talk about the beginning. There was a lot of politics, but by working across party lines, you're celebrating 35 years of Lower Wisconsin Riverway.
Absolutely. And there is no Riverway without former Senator Dale Schultz and Senator Dick Krull and Representative Spencer Black and former Governor Tommy Thompson. And then other Republican legislators, Senator Brian Rood and Representative David Brandemule, Joe Tregoning, and Dwayne Johnsrud. They took hard votes.
And for people who may not be aware, because you drove me over the river yesterday, and pointed out, it is pristine wilderness. It remains pristine wilderness where you can go and look at the rock formations and kayak, and you're not looking at a water park that's right along the river, and you're not looking at big condominiums and other developments, and it is nature as it was left.
Yeah. It really is, Mark.
Yes, and as Marty referred to the whole Circle City concept, that the lower Wisconsin River, which is 92 miles long from the last dam on the river at Prairie du Sac to the confluence with the Mississippi, encompasses 100,000 acres roughly.
Wow.
About half of it's still in private ownership, half of it's in public ownership, and it's designed to protect the scenic beauty and natural character of that acreage.
Yeah.
And so the Riverway Board that I work for, that was a key element of the compromise that former Senator Schultz and the others I mentioned crafted. It was a compromise.
Right.
Everyone gave up something to create this. And the law that's on the books today is 95% of what that law that was passed in 1989 was.
Wow. Wow.
And that was after years of planning and lots of public meetings, and there was discord, and there was not 100% agreement.
Yeah. No, it certainly was not at the beginning. We're going to come back, talk to Mark Cupp, the Executive Director of the Lower Wisconsin State Riverway Board. Also, Marty Richards from the Greater Richland Area Tourism Director. Jane Matnair on air. We'll come back, wrap things up from the RC after this. Don't go anywhere. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on location on the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, got 1 minute, then we'll come back and wrap. When we come back, we got about 7-ish, right? 8 minutes left. So when we come back,
I was so impressed yesterday, though, with how untouched it is.
Yeah.
And when you think about all of the development that could have occurred over the last 30 years and altered just the topography and the pollution and the runoff and everything else, and to have something that still looks so natural.
The McMansions on the hilltops.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What a treasure.
And our zoning throughout the county has kind of quashed that a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a little tight in most townships to try to build anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a yin
20
yang
seconds.
thing, because that's awesome, but we do want to grow too, but let's do it managed.
Well, right.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. We are live from Crosscup Park in the hometown of Richland, central Wisconsin, along with my good friend Jane Matnair on road. Tomorrow, Eau Claire, and join us downtown Eau Claire at Shift Cyclery. Have to be careful when I say that.
Yes, you do.
Shift Cyclery and Coffee Bar. Wonder State Coffee, by the way. We're going to go through for Oakwell later on. One of the few solar roasteries in the world.
Very cool.
I got some. We got some right here. We had some today. We'll be having the first cup of black coffee at Shift tomorrow in Eau Claire. Wonder State Coffee on us.
Come on and join us. We're going to have waffles.
Yeah.
I keep hearing about these fabulous waffles.
Yeah.
And we would love to meet you and sit down and chat. That's what it's all about.
Pat Kretlow from Up North News Radio will be there as well. You can meet him, Jane, and I, maybe even Jim Santel from Amicus. It might
Awesome.
be, he's in town, I think, as well up there. So it'll be a good time had by all. Then Friday we end up in beautiful Amory, the favorite place that Jane has ever been.
Yet.
We'll Flag Day as well. So come on out to the park there at the shelter in Amory and join Jane and I on Friday. Right now we're going to wrap things up. We are talking with Marty Richards from the Greater Richland Area Tourism. He is the director there. And Mark Cupp from the Lower Wisconsin State Riverway Board Executive Director. Mark, I've been open on this show, and as I think many people have in our lives, gone through times where my mental health was not great and kind of struggle with that. And in the last, I would say 5 years or plus, one of the great joys joys and gifts that I have discovered was going kayaking with my godsons and their parents. They live in Monroe, and oftentimes we'll drive up. Kurt is from Spring Green originally, and we've spent time on the Wisconsin River. It's not just fun for me. I found it enormously therapeutic in a world that can be dominated by violence. Do you hear that from people that use the lower Wisconsin?
Yes, well, I think it really what was driven home during the whole pandemic years that people needed some place to go, and the Riverway was a natural option for them. The sandbar camping, which is very popular, and here's your destination. You can take your family or go with some friends and have the whole social distancing thing and be in a canoe or a kayak, go out on a sandbar. You could see the same thing that Marquette and Joliet saw in 1673 and countless generations of Native Americans before them. Marquette and Joliet saw in June of 1670, right now, they were going up the Fox River before they came to Portage. And Marquette said, the Wisconsin River is very broad with a sandy bottom that forms numerous shoals that render navigation difficult. On its banks, one sees diversified lands with woods, prairies, and hills. We saw oak, walnut, hickory, elm, basswood, and another kind of tree armed with long thorns, which has no name. And on the 17th of June, we entered the Father of Waters with a joy which I cannot express.
Wow.
And that's what you see today, and that's why we are protecting the lower Wisconsin State Riverway.
Yeah.
So that this generation and perhaps the next generation or even the seventh generation can have a chance to see what we are able to see today and what's been here on the landscape for those millennia.
Mark, what you just said is poignant, it's beautiful, and it's why I always love coming back home and hanging out here. I'm so glad that Jane joined me on this trip because I don't think former Governor Lee Sherman Dreyfus called this part of Wisconsin a 23rd Psalm place. and to your point, it is. And as Yogi Berra once said, you can see a lot just by looking around. And I think if people have not visited Southwest Wisconsin, and if they come and spend time on the lower Wisconsin Riverway, you'll find out that people who sometimes vote red and sometimes vote blue and oftentimes vote purple care as much about conservation and the outdoors as anybody else.
Well, I think the Riverway is really a great equalizer to take the politics out of it and say, here's a great success story. And come and take, for this year, for the year of the Riverway, the 35th anniversary, we're doing extra field trips. Tomorrow we have a third one of our series and special lectures, and we do our Voyager replica canoe trips every year. And this year we have about a dozen of them where we have 25-foot long canoes. They seat 8 adults. We have 2 of them. And you could go out there. I'm a guide. I've been doing this a long time. They're very safe. Wear your life jacket. You have to. And you could see and experience this thing firsthand.
Yeah.
And then you understand very much this feeling, this emotion, this experience. And there's nothing quite like it.
And you had implied that the healing properties of this, spiritually, emotionally, your mental health, there is just something that regrounds us, I think, when you are out in nature like that.
Bingo.
And you feel better.
Yeah. Give a 1 minute best shot of if you had to give a 1 minute elevator speech. Why to visit Richland County?
I think the biggest explanation, or what I can say real quickly, is I have 3 daughters. One lives in Washington, D.C. She's in the Air Force. She actually is the archival videographer to the president, and so she is like go, 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 go. 2 others live in Spokane, Washington, and a metropolitan city now. It's grown quite a bit. When they come home and they do at least once every year, I always like to watch their reaction at night. Because we'll be out on the patio, I'll turn the bistro lights off, and you just see them look at the sky. And our dark skies are probably another healing property that we don't think about very much. That just that serenity, the tree frogs or peepers, whatever. We have fights in our household, what those are called. But, it just, there is something about that, getting rid of that anxiety from the everyday noise of the city drumbeat that you hear.
Yeah.
And I've apologized to guests because, there was a siren last night. Well, somebody's corn crib caught on fire, and so they had to go put it out. And they're like, what siren? They don't even notice. And so I just think there is something about just coming to this area and being in it.
Mark Cup, 45 seconds. Why should people visit the Lower Wisconsin Riverway?
In addition to that peace of mind that we've referred to, you will come away with the sense of the scenic beauty of the Driftless region, and particularly the Lower Wisconsin River Valley. You're going to see eagles and blue herons and all kinds of other wildlife. And you'll realize that there are special places that need to be protected, and not just so that your eyes and ears and senses can experience them, but that future generations will. I can leave you with one quick quote from Aldo Leopold. Yet there remains the river, in some places hardly changed. At early dawn, one could still hear it singing in the wilderness. Perhaps our grandsons, having never seen a river, will never miss the chance to set a canoe in singing waters.
Magic, Mark Cup, Marty Richards, Jane McNair, Chris Geezy, our lighting and camera technician. Mr. Zommer's back home. Thank you all so much. This is fantastic. We'll see you in Eau Claire tomorrow. Todd Allbaugh, say whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, like Southwest Wisconsin. Do not give up. Keep banging your drum. Powerfully.